quite normative within the context of particular illnesses, pains, and even mental health. It's self-medication, not abnormal, happens a lot. We do know that whatever he was doing, his son didn't die, and his son was taken care of, according to the narrative we have, until the state stepped in. Arizona officials are not commenting, refusing to comment on the death, but it is part of a pattern per the report. In the fiscal year that ended last June, about 26 children, count that, 26 children died while in the agency's custody, including from overdoses, medical conditions, natural and still undetermined causes. In the previous fiscal year, that number was actually 14. The figures amount to a fatality rate of about 97 per 100,000 children during that period, almost double the rate for children in the general population of Arizona. Let's put up the director here, okay? Mike Faust, the director of the Arizona Department of Child Safety since 2019, was replaced last month by Matthew Stewart on the right. Stewart, who previously worked at DCS, has stepped away from his job at DCS after learning of racial disparities impacting Black families back in 2018. Now he's back to lead the agency. In 2022, the former director, Mike Faust, had to answer to lawmakers after countless reports of violence and drug use at foster homes owned by North Star Independent Living Services were ignored. It led to a teenage resident being shot and killed inside of one of those homes. So this story hits home for me because I was a foster kid myself. And I know about some of the cultural aspects of that kind of systemic service. It's not nice, it's not easy, it's not a fun place to be. It's cold, it's lonely, sometimes unforgiving in some ways. But this is even more extreme than the regular extremes that exist in foster systems, because they had a death rate rising at a level unprecedented year to year. And now they have a latest one. All right, sharing thoughts.
I think they took their perception, their perceived sins of the father out on the son. I don't think they cared anything about this child. And you said 26 kids dead, fiscal year ending. Shouldn't the Fed step in, Dr. Ritchie? There's an intervention, a massive one that's necessary.
Yeah, I agree 100%. All right, we'll stay with the story. I'm sure there are more developments that will come this year. Sharon, always a pleasure having you on the program. Tell people how they can follow you, check out your great work.
At Sharon Reed Live, you can catch me across all social platforms, also Rebel HQ. I'll post another video, hopefully today, if not tomorrow, and I hope you'll check it out.
Awesome, I love your Rebel HQ videos. Keep them coming, we appreciate that. All right, remember, take care of yourself, take care of each other, take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.
Universal health care, raising the minimum wage. If you want clean water, clean air, clean food, keep going. If you are a doer of the deed, I want you to stand up to your feet right now. We have courage enough, conviction enough, people power enough to stand up and do what is right for ourselves. I am unbought and unbought.
Hello, welcome to the show. We are so glad that you are here. My co-host today is none other than Jackson himself, Jackson White. Jackson, how you doing, darling?
I'm doing well. I had a fun weekend. I got out and about in NYC, and work's going well. I got no complaints. I'll be 31 on the 31st. I'm not like superstitious with numbers or anything like that, but I don't know. Maybe it'll be special. We'll see. We'll find out soon. But I'm well. It's good to be here.
I'm glad you're here. We'll be special because you're special. 31 on 31. You just getting started.
Thank you.
Yeah,
we're getting going.
Early birthday.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You are so welcome. Anything happening on Rebel HQ we should be aware of?
Just the same old at the moment, keeping up and really waiting on this election to take off, which, we're still take a little bit of time, but that's pretty much it. We're just keeping up with everything crazy going on.
Yeah, keeping all of us informed. So definitely you want to check Jackson out on Rebel HQ. That's part of the TYT family of shows. So today, Jackson and I will be dealing with the failures of the United States healthcare system, or should we say sick care system. We are the only, underline it, underscored, exclamation point, message in a bottle on a train. We are the only industrialized nation on the face of the earth that does not have some form of universal health care. It is cruel. It is unusual. It is immoral, but that's where we are today. But we can spend $858 billion on the military-industrial complex. Voting restrictions all across the country definitely prove that democracy is in danger and is mainly at the hands of the GOP. And then gun manufacturers hit a new low, if that is possible. Kid guns. Yes, we kid you not. So Jackson and I, we're gonna dive right into that. 38% of Americans put off healthcare in 2022. Now we have and always will advocate for Medicare for all. You all know how I roll when it comes to Medicare for all. It is a human right. Healthcare is a human right. And in the hegemonic nation that we are, the United States of America, there's really no excuse, no reason, no rationale other than unfettered greed that we will continue on this path of commodifying healthcare. It makes no sense unless it's for the greedy at the expense of the needy. And that is what is happening right now in the United States of America. Truly, truly a travesty of epic proportions. It doesn't have to be this way. So we're gonna keep on fighting. We're gonna keep on pushing. Big up to the nurses, National Nurses United. and nurses all over this country who sound the alarm about the need for Medicare for all. They are on the front lines, they are in the trenches, and they have been telling us for decades that we need to have a universal healthcare system in the United States of America. And there are medical doctors that feel exactly the same way. But 38% of Americans put off healthcare in 2022. There's something wrong with that. There are millions of people uninsured and underinsured in the United States of America. So look at this headline: record high in US put off medical care due to cost in 2022. That's coming from the Gallup poll. And here's a chart detailing the study climb to this record number. The question being, within the last 12 months, have you or a member of your family put off any sort of medical treatment because of the cost you would have to pay? And look at that freaking number. Look at that. So that means that people are not really having a high quality life, because if you got to put off your medical needs, that does not equal a high quality life. It doesn't, because your health is your wealth. We got to start there before anybody can do any other magnificent thing that may be on their list to do in this world. They have to be able to have healthcare, but we're failing in the United States. Furthermore, delayed medical treatments in 2022, 27% delayed treatment for a very serious or somewhat serious condition. Lower income, younger adults and women most likely to report delaying care. And you know what happens when people delay care? Then when they finally do get the care, it's much more expensive, because it should be preventative wellness care, health care, so that folks can catch things early. But no, not in the good old United States of America. Take a look at this chart from 2022 via the Commonwealth Fund. 23% insured all year, but underinsured. 11% insured now with coverage gap. 9% uninsured. 57% insured all year and not underinsured. We have a problem in the United States of America. Because yeah, either you're insured or you're underinsured. How many of you do have health insurance and you still end up paying a whole lot of money out of pocket? There's a problem here. Problem. And it's called the owner donors in the United States of America. That's what it is. That's what it is. More than 2 out of 5 working age adults are inadequately insured. Inflation has been a big factor in the record surge for people delaying their health care. That should come as no surprise. This change came amid the highest inflation rate in the United States in more than 40 years, which made 2020 a challenging year for many Americans. A majority of US adults have said inflation is creating at least a moderate hardship for them. The public continues to view the state of the US economy negatively, as they should, and Americans were more likely to name inflation as the most important problem facing the US in 2022 than at any time since 1984. Again, this is coming from the Gallup poll. So Jackson, we got a problem here.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that you continuously point out is just to follow the money, and the reality that really at the center of the issue, there's always the effort to maximize profit by people who really don't even have much stakes to lose within the medical system at all, like shareholders or like executives of hospitals or executives of middleman insurance agencies. Following the money, not just in the medical industry, but how the tax system has been flipped on its head relatively quickly. I mean, it took several decades, but in the scheme of things, that's relatively fast, all because of the power of corruption within the system. The huge gains that the working class made have been flipped on its head. Union membership being low, right to work laws being spread out all over the place. So this is just another result of that, such that people often just go with illnesses or injuries that otherwise could be relatively easily cured if it weren't for all of these insurance companies or prescription pharmaceutical companies maximizing profits. People like Martin Shkreli being thrown in prison because he's increasing medication prices by hundreds of times. So it's just the same issue over and over and over again. Big money in the system for the few to profit, and that's all we're dealing with.
and literally killing people. I mean, this is no exaggeration, because if you're delaying a serious condition, you're not going to the doctor for a serious condition, it could hasten death. This is very tragic. And as corporate greed continues to cause inflation, people's health is taking a hit. Representative Ro Khanna emphasized that in this tweet. Let's take a look at what the representative tweeted. If you don't believe corporate greed has deadly consequences, take a look at the decline in American life expectancy. We need Medicare for all, and we must raise the minimum wage. Amen to that. The congressman is not wrong. Peter G. Peterson Foundation. Although the United States spends more on health care than any other developed countries, its health outcomes are generally not better. And we can see worst on one side, best on the other, and where we fall. So we spend more, and the outcomes are not as good. And that is a problem. In other words, we're not getting an investment, a return on our investment as a nation when it comes to healthcare. But you know who the people who are getting the return on the investment is the big corporations, and they really do not care, you all. But they got a partner in all of this, because they couldn't do all of this without the government being complicit. And that is exactly what is happening. Why in the midst of a pandemic wouldn't elected leaders on the federal level say this is the time to go for it? This is the time to ensure that we have universal health care. And this is a reminder that most Americans support Medicare for all or some form of it. Believe your lying eyes or ears. I'm gonna read some of this. Medicare for all, where Americans would get their health insurance from the government. All voters, 55%. Only 32% opposed, 13% don't know. So, or don't have an opinion on it, so they can rock and roll in either one of those categories. Democrats, 79% support. So why is it that when the Democrats had control of all the chambers, nothing happened? 13% of Democrats don't have an opinion or don't know, and only 8% of Democrats oppose. Hello, somebody. On the Republican side, 28% support, 10% don't quite know, 62% oppose. Why they would oppose this, only God knows. Because Republicans get sick too. The last time I checked, they need healthcare too. The last time I checked, there's some poor Republicans in the United States of America. The last time I checked, that's just asinine right there. Ridiculous. Medicare as it exists right now is one of the best federal programs in the country. It helped to pull that, and Social Security helped to pull so many of our seasoned folks, our seniors, our elders out of poverty. You try to take their Medicare, they're gonna get in the streets. Medicare for all, universal health care is the right thing to do. I don't understand these fools. And since it's been a while, it's a good time to put up the map that reminds us just how far behind we are on health care coverage. Countries with universal health care in 2022. You see where we are? We're in that gray area. And you see where other industrialized nations are. Sisters and brothers and family and friends, I cannot emphasize this enough. And to all of the advocates and the activists that are out there pounding on this every single day, please keep doing it, please. This is one thing that there should not be a disagreement about. Every human being, if you are human, you are going to need healthcare at some stage in your life, whether you are a newborn baby or whether you're 150 years old. Somewhere between being a newborn baby and turning 150 years old, you're gonna need some flipping healthcare. Hello, federal government. Now, America, we are gonna have to stop being complicit in our own demise at some point. We will keep talking about this. Voting restrictions update. So every day, people continue to face the consequences of voter disinformation. Take a look at this.
We got one in this room over here. Miami-Dade police, open the door. Go open the door. Go open the door.
Come outside, man. Let me talk to you for a second.
Hold on, put him up there.
Come here. Come outside for a second.
Step out.
Come outside. Come outside.
Step out.
Come outside. Come outside.
Come over here.
Come outside.
Come out. Take a seat right over here.
Come on, sit.
I'm like that right there. Sit on the next seat right there.
Sit down. Take a seat.
What happened? You gotta come with us. Come on, put on some pants.
Come with y'all for what?
I'll explain it to you once you get dressed. Put on pants.
Now you see that sugar right there. That man was arrested like that over some voting stuff. Didn't kill anybody, wasn't in a high-speed chase or nothing. They got guns blazing on this man. The man ain't even dressed. He like, tell me, I'll tell you when you get dressed. No, tell me now. Why y'all all up on me like that with weapons drawn in the United States of America? Hello, somebody. It is. I mean, Jackson, I'm right here right now. It's this time. It's this time right now. The way they did that, brother. Yeah. And it could have been a vanilla brother.
Well, it could have been anybody of lower means. And I think one of the important things, and it's not that people don't point it out, but this is definitely not just left or right thing on the political spectrum, but big capital benefits from this type of political direction. And often why, people who have the means to really combat this type of political movement just stay quiet, because it inevitably helps them hang on to more of their wealth through, capital gains and different types of tax breaks that keep getting passed through Congress. So, this ultimately is a result of corruption and unfettered capitalism and the breakdown of proper and good functioning social structures. So again, it's bigger than just like, oh, the Republicans are in support of this, but the people who really have the means to combat this, it's rather convenient for them. It's making them richer.
I mean, so what we just watched was the arrest of Ronald Miller. And back in August 19th, Floridians were accused and arrested for voter fraud. They arrested this man for alleged voter fraud, using law enforcement officers in that kind of misguided way, guns damn drawn on the man, like he had just killed somebody. In America, 14 of those arrested were black. No surprise there. Voter fraud is exceedingly rare in the United States of America, despite what the GOP keep propagating. But Republican lawmakers in several states like Florida have beefed up units charged with investigating it. Several voting experts say that they could not recall seeing another case in which someone accused of voter fraud was arrested at gunpoint. And not just one gun point, several guns pointed at this man. He had the door half naked. They ain't even had the decency to let the man get dressed. And then when he asked them, what are you doing this for? We'll tell you when we get dressed. No, you gonna tell me now. You gonna tell me now. I hope he sues them folks. Y'all fill in the blank. They need to be sued. Now, why was Miller accused of voter fraud? I'm glad you asked. We got the answer here on Unbossed. Miller was convicted of second-degree murder more than 30 years ago, a crime that causes you to permanently lose your voting rights in Florida. He had long completed his sentence for those charges and was not aware that he was permanently barred from voting, his lawyers said. 30 years ago, did not know he was permanently barred from voting. Nobody should be permanently barred from voting when they didn't serve their debt to society. 30 years ago? Hello, somebody? Even worse, he was sent a voter registration card. I mean, you know what? The man was sent a voter registration card, okay? Many of the defendants, Miller, have said they were not warned, they were ineligible, received voter registration cards in the mail and believed they could vote. Voting rights advocates see the cases as a thinly veiled effort to intimidate people from voting. You daggone right it is. And also in Florida, the voters passed by referendum, giving former returning citizens the right to be able to vote again. And that mofo governor turned that around, went against the will of the people. You know what, Jackson? Look, we know what this is. This is Jim Crow. This is all of this stuff. Black codes, 21st century version, doing this man like this.
And it just exacerbates the authorities' boldness to use physical force. for unnecessary reasons, and we already know that's
necessary.
Yeah,
And they
you know
wasted
what I mean?
taxpayers' dollars, Jackson. On top of that,
And they knew what they were there for. You know, it's not like they got called there because he would, we heard that there was fighting or someone heard gunshots or something like that. And not even letting him put his pants on as if you didn't already have control over the situation. Yeah. It's just, and again, exacerbating the system that will therefore then attract people who have even less scruples about themselves. And who have even less morals about the way they go about things, because they're just eating up on the power that it fills them with, and it's really
they really are
ridiculous
to
see.
Makes no sense. The man paid his debt. It was 30 years ago. You come on his anyway. You know what? It's not just Florida. Sad to say, it is not just Florida with DeSanctimonious. It's not just him. Other states. The fight for democracy. Let's show this headline. Republicans have already filed dozens of bills to restrict voting in 2023. They're already on their mission. At least 26 states enacted, expanded, or increased the severity of 120 election-related criminal penalties. So instead of lifting folks, making sure people are housed, making sure folks that that really need help in this country are helped, this is what these mofos are up to, and that's what they doing, including in my own home state. And when I was in the legislature, they were up to no good then, and they just done tripled down on it. The fight for democracy. Let's put up this headline: Ohio Republicans quietly enact alarming new voter restrictions. Law puts Ohio among states with the strictest voter ID rules and will make it harder for elderly and disabled and the poor to vote. And before folks were saying, well, do you need ID for everything? Before you even go there, everything else is not a fundamental right. There was a point of time in this country where you did not need IDs in this way. Maybe the browning of America is the reason why these members of the GOP in particular, because we had some goings on in New York too that was controlled by Democrats, but let me not digress. Right now, these Republican controlled legislatures are making it harder for people to vote. So when people say you need an ID to cash a check, you need an ID to get on the plane, hell, half of the poor people, they ain't flying. They don't need the damn ID. None of those things are fundamental rights, and voting is a fundamental right. Now, what do these restrictions include? Let's put them up. New Ohio measure, shame on my state. More stringent voter ID requirements, cutting the early voting period. They did that when I was in the legislature, so they cutting it even more. Giving voters less time to return their mail-in ballots. How can these fools run for office for a living and then try to stop people from voting? This is what I do not understand. And this is why we needed the federal government to do something instead of sitting back twiddling their thumbs. The state had already required voters to show ID at the polls, but allowed an exception for voters who couldn't produce one, allowing them to present a bank statement, pay stubs, or other documents to prove their identity. The new law gets rid of that exception and only allows someone to vote if they can provide a form of photo ID. Thank you, Sam at The Guardian. You know what I say to other states? Come get your state. So I'm saying it to myself. This Turner got to come get her own state. And it's been this way for a very long time. Who will this impact? Black and brown people. The most. Black and brown communities have higher numbers of those communities who don't have ID. This is gonna impact black and brown voters, students, rural voters, military voters, seniors. I mean, there's really everyone who's going to be impacted by these substantial changes. That's coming from Camille Winbush for Ohio Votes. Everybody, lottie-dottie and everybody, to quote my grandmama, will be impacted by this foolishness. And the Republicans know it. They know it. This is why they doing it. Because you know what? They can't win with better ideas. So if they can't win straight up, they cheat. This hurts democracy. So remember, voter advocates say voting fraud is not a widespread problem. It's not. I think the Brennan Center did a study a few years ago that said you got a better chance of being struck by lightning than you have of somebody committing voter fraud. Jackson, we know exactly what this is. All of this is by design, all of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, not only, like you said, not only can Republicans not win on ideas, but they also can't win with inclusion. And
Hey.
this is simply an attack on Black and brown communities voting, non-white voters voting. And not just that, but also the attack on the idea of the elites not governing society. Basically, everything that feeds into that culture and into that idea that those more benevolent and greater than I can think for me. So it all feeds into the same nonsense that unfortunately has destructive consequences.
It does have destructive consequences. Look, to the voter rights advocates out there, thank you for all that you do on this issue. We must not relent. And look, just because people jump over the hurdle does not mean that the hurdle was not there to begin with. The hurdles are there. And these Republican-controlled legislatures are doing everything in their power to make sure that less and less people get a chance to participate. One man, one woman, one person, one vote is one of the greatest equalizers that we have. And Jackson is absolutely right. This is about elitism. This is classism. This is racism. All of the isms are mixed up into this wicked brew of these cowards. They shouldn't even run for office because they cowards. That's exactly what they are. They're cowards. We coming back. I gotta cool off. Stay right.
Welcome to Indisputable. I'm your host, Dr. Rashad Richard. We got a lot happening today. But what do we do on this show? We tell the truth. You know why we tell the truth? Because the truth is simply indisputable.
Rashad, great to be here. Congratulations on the new show. And I gotta let everybody know that Rashad and I go way back.
Here's the pattern that we see in all of these Karen stories. They think they own stuff they do not own. Now, where does that come from? I don't know, maybe slavery. Maybe they think they should still own Black people.
This is what happens when Karens weaponize the police.
When you're used to privilege, equality seems like oppression.
It hits you in a certain way when someone is holding you against your will, treating you like you're a criminal and you're an innocent person. This is something that Black people face no matter where they are.
A stronger Black economy lends itself to a stronger, greater economy. Don't think it's exclusive of you, it's inclusive of you.
What's your beef with critical race theory?
It adds more fuel to the fire of the racist tendencies that we already have.
We have a generation of problem solvers that can remedy the problem if they are properly taught what the problem is.
You know who created redlining in this country? It was the white liberal.
I don't give a damn who created it. If it's a racist policy, Shelley, here's what I don't know. I don't know. See, there you go filibustering, brother. You're scared of this truth, but you're gonna get it though.
Climate is changing fundamentally, extremely, and non-linearly. It's becoming worse now. It's not when the levees burst that is the problem. It's in the anticipation of that.
So I hope every human being is safe. And by human beings, I do not include multinational corporations, especially the ones that started climate change in the first place.
What we're currently doing right now in cutting emissions is clearly not enough. There will be ramifications to what Trump is doing. I don't want people to suffer, but I feel like there's gonna be a lot of suffering because we have an imbecile as our leader.
And we are back. I'm still hot. Gonna take a lot to cool me off on that one. Listen, we want you to become a member. If you are not, we need you to spin that wheel. Yeah, so come on. We pride ourselves in making sure that our subscribers, you like family, you are. So sign up for the annual membership to TYT and spin the wheel for an exciting prize. How do you participate? So glad you asked. Become an annual TYT member at tyt.com/spin. Spin the wheel when you get your membership confirmation email. Land on a prize and wait for delivery via mail. Yeah, do that. We need you to subscribe. It keeps us able to do what we do, to be a strong, independent media force in this world. And then John Old School, that's right. John Adarota. Yes, he is. It's Dragon Daddy's anniversary, Old School. Monday, January 26th, 10 p.m. ET, 7 p.m. PT. Go to tyt.com/live Grab new merch at shoppyt.com. Old School Monday. Go ahead and do that, John. Do your thing, Dragon Daddy. Yep, this is coming from Black Pearl Dragon. Y'all don't want to miss that. That is going to be so much fun. Now, on to what some of you had to say so far. TYT members, HOV 123 or HOV 123. Forgive me if I didn't articulate that the way you wanted. Democrat, in parentheses, specifically neoliberals, had control of the White House, the House, and the Senate, and still couldn't pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. GOP cruelty is swift. Dems sit around and wait for the cruelty, then discuss. You better say that, HOV 123. You got that right. That is exactly what they do. Thank you for that. On Twitch, thank you for subscribing for 16 months, Kruger. Oh my God, I wish I had a drum to roll, but I am saying thank you. Kruger says, Nina, you are a force to be reckoned with, and we're freaking neighbors. Erie P here. Go ahead, Midwest. Go ahead, Pennsylvania. I have so much respect for you. You are incredible and give me hope for the future. Love. Oh, Kruger, thank you so much. And I'm sending that love right back to you. And on YouTube Super Chat, Jorgen, hey Jorgen, how are you, darling? Powerful, Nina, the whole world wants to see you as the next president. Except for them damn neoliberals, or at least me. I love you, Georgian. Thank you for that. We need some female energy on earth, and you're number one. Love you all the way from Sweden. Georgian, thank you so much. We are sending that love right back to Sweden, baby. Thank you for your support of Unbossed and the TYT Network. You are so appreciated. Man, y'all got me blushing right about now. Now for our WTF's Hypocrisy Knows No Bounds, and we got a double header today. Let me just put that out there. Hypocrisy knows no bounds. The Biden administration's condemnation of the UAK government's strike laws has me saying, WTF, neoliberal.
We will now kneel.
Miss Sinema, no.
You have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
Yes, put up this tweet. This is what we are talking about today. This is the first phase of the WTF neoliberal. Breaking. The Biden administration have condemned the UK government's anti-strike laws. Now, I just want to pause. My grandmother would say more nerve than a brass a monkey on that one. Put it back up. We're not done. US Labor Secretary Marty Walsh said, I would not support anything that would take away from workers' rights, end quote. Okay, so let me give you some background here. Workers' Rights Agency denies back in the UK strike law. So there's some going back and forth about who supported, who doesn't support it, who's on first, who's on second, and who's on third. The head of the UN's Agency for Workers' Rights has denied that the organization backs the UK's tough new strike laws. It comes after UK ministers repeatedly suggested that the International Labor Organization supported government plans to enforce minimum service levels during public sector strikes. Is this sounding somewhat familiar to you all? The new laws are meant to protect the public from the impact of walkouts. This is coming from BBC News. Here's a thought: if you want to protect the public from public workers walking out, how about you pay them a living wage, make sure that they have health care and very extraordinary work conditions? How about that? That might do it, you know? Also coming from BBC, but unions have called them undemocratic, unworkable, and illegal. The US Labor Secretary Marty Walsh has also told the BBC he disagrees with the idea of minimum service agreements. Hold up, wait a minute. He disagrees with minimum service agreements for public sector workers and suggests that they may be detrimental to workers. Well, you don't say. No stuff, Sherlock. They got a whole lot of nerve. Dude, the UK's strike minimum service levels bill will give the government the power to unilaterally assert levels of service provisions from striking workers in certain sectors and could lead to workers losing their job or unions being sued. Now, we got a case pending right now before the United States Supreme Court that if it goes sideways will hurt workers in this country. So is this you, Biden administration? My stunt double weighed in on this when they prevented our rail workers from going on strike. Is this you? More than 500 labor historians condemn Biden's intervention in the freight rail strike. So Jackson, this is a case of y'all got some nerve dipping your nose in some other country when you got all kinds of stuff on you.
Yeah, and I mean, there was really no tactful or constructive reason for them to have publicly commented on this whatsoever. Who couldn't have seen that coming? You know what I'm saying? And again, it's things like this that just go to show all the gaps in people's operations. It's always funny, when you're younger and you're coming up in the world, you think that, the adults and the professionals have everything so together and all figured out. And then you start to become a part of it and you're like, no one's paying attention over here. No one's paying attention over there. Oh, they're just puppets over there. Like, and so, but it was just kind of, y'all really could have kept quiet about this one, especially considering that the railway situation just went down, but it was
just went down in
sloppy.
December. Just went down in December. We all old enough to remember. They should have kept quiet. Another saying, be quiet is better to be thought of as a fool than to open your mouth and prove that you are one. And they have definitely proved this. We walking back in time on this. I want folks to know from the lever, Democrats passed the strike breaking bill. They got some nerves. The reason why we bring this up, because how dare they jump on over there in the UK when we got problems over here? Democrats, just in case y'all don't remember, as Jackson and I are saying, this just happened in December. Democrats passed the strike breaking bill for their rail industry donors with the kind of discipline, purpose, and audacity that the party has never mustered for long promise, but still languishing initiatives such as $15 an hour minimum wage and the PRO Act. You better say that. You better say that or tweet that. That's what they did. And then this next one, this last tweet really sums it up. Rail Workers United press release slams at Joe Biden. The most labor-friendly president has opted side with big business and call for a thwarting of rail workers' right to strike. There it is. But that did not stop them from dipping their nose over in the UK. They did that. Part 2 of our WTF neoliberal. The World Economic Forum is taking place in Switzerland right now. 2 senators are there right now. Watch this.
This is not healthy for democracy. So I think that this is an opportunity for us as a country to look back and say, is this partisanship serving us? I would posit to you that it's not. And so while some would say that there were reluctant folks working in Congress in the last 2 years, I would actually say that that was the basis for the productivity for some incredible achievements that made a difference for the American people in the last 2 years.
And we still don't agree on getting rid of the filibuster.
That's correct.
Thank you. I was.
What incredible things have they done on behalf of the American people that are still percolating right now? What? We are still in a pandemic, and these fools acting like we not in a pandemic. They let the child tax credit expire. They wouldn't let the rail workers go on strike because we understand what would have happened there was a consequence for that, but they should have gave the rail workers what they wanted. Remember, they were only asking for sick time. They haven't passed the PRO Act, John Lewis Voting Rights Act, George Floyd Policing Act. What good things have they done on behalf of the American people? And you just saw Sinema and Manchin high five each other to celebrate their efforts to block Senate filibuster reform. The lawmakers' refusal blocked key legislation such as voting rights reform, codifying abortion rights. So what they high-fiving for? Again, they said the quiet part out loud with that high five. They letting us know where they stand. And as a reminder, the two are at the World Economic Forum event in Davos, Switzerland. That is where they are, surrounded by some of the richest people on earth, sitting up in that place high-fiving. The filibuster is a relic that is deeply attached to the racist history in this country. The filibuster was most often used to block legislation that would advance equality and justice towards black folks in this country. So Sinema and Manchin, they continue to screw over the American people every day. You remember this footage?
Miss Sinema. No.
Keep in mind the spike of contributions to both Sinema and Manchin in 2021. The money calls and they listen. They do the bidding for their owner donors. $500 or more. Look at all of that money. This is really about the owner donors. This is why they do this stuff, Jackson. It's clear it is a corrupt system and bribery is legal in the United States of America.
Well, there's so much corruption in the system that there hasn't really been any need to change up the arguments, whether it be the same type of supply side economic arguments, or it's the same type of arguments for partisanship within Congress. Even though, so much of the Senate and Congress is funded by the same groups of people, overwhelmingly. So there is no real partisanship along the public lines and along policy lines. And they know that these arguments are tired. And despite the fact that the public generally is well aware of this, there's no real incentive for them to change because there's no real consequences that they're going to face, especially people like Kirsten Sinema, who's well aware of why people, the people who really don't like her, she knows why that's the case, but what does she really have to care for? She's separated from all of that.
Yeah, she is, and has a nice cushy lobbyist job waiting for her when she's no longer in the Senate one of these days.
Yep.
Oh, I sigh deeply. We're coming right back. Let me get my sigh on during the break.
I'm wearing one of our pieces of merchandise. So the funny thing about the Dragon Squad, and that's what our viewers call themselves. That's the name of the group, but every individual chooses their own name. You might have Cincinnati Dragon. You might have Harry Potter Dragon. We have a Grandma Sunshine Dragon is one of those that I remember. These are people that like to have an element of themselves, their lives, what's significant to them, reflected as a part of the community. But the concept of the Dragon Squad is just something I threw away as a joke. I was mocking the Proud Boys, these like right-wing groups that come up with a name for themselves that they think is cool, but it's actually really lame. And I thought, off the top of my head, I can come up with something that's still kind of lame, but much cooler. And so I threw out Dragon Squad, and I just moved on with my life. But everybody liked it, and so they kept it going, and so we've embraced it. And I think again, this was during the period of the pandemic. I think it was sort of nice to have a renewed sense of community, a feeling that you're a part of something when everything seems so chaotic. And as a result of that, we've got independent artists online streaming, making beautiful digital art of dragons. We've got, we've released a number of pieces of merchandise that people love sending us photos of them. And then, by the way, for me personally, people send me, like you can probably see in the background, like a knitted dragon someone sent me. There's a dragon book they sent me, dragon board games they send me. People have done like custom ironworks, making dragon bottle openers. Like the fans are super invested in diamond art and things like that. And so it's great that they send this stuff. Sometime we're gonna have to set up a wall of all of it. But yeah, it's definitely brought the community a lot closer together. The fact that we were no longer in this big studio, I felt a lot more personally attached to people. It felt very immediate. And I know that I personally needed the connection.
Did you know that more than 20% of the world's oxygen comes from the Amazon? Why? Because of trees. I know what you're thinking. Of course! So what do we want to do? We want to plant more trees so we can save the climate. It's quite literal. So that's what leads to our new partner, Plant Your Change. Love it. It's so easy. What they do is you take the credit or debit cards you already have and you plug it into the system. And if you so choose, you get to round up every purchase to the nearest dollar and they plant a tree for you, okay? Now you could also choose if you wanna do it on only certain kinds of purchases or only so often, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But literally every cent makes a difference here. It's Plant Your Change. And if you wanna know more information, just go to tyt.com/trees. Let's go save the planet together.
Now, top No. No.
Today, a terrible day for the internet, a terrible day for America. The internet as we know it is not going to exist anymore.
A real dark day for information, and yet another way that they're bleeding out the democracy.
We're now going to have these gatekeepers of information deciding what we can and can't see, and that's what scares me the most.
Whether you're conservative or progressive or anywhere in the middle, this is the one thing we should all agree to. Protect the internet, because the establishment is coming for it. Don't let them destroy the internet.
Welcome back to the show. I did get all my sighs out of my system, I think. I'm gonna try not to sigh for the rest of the show. Now don't forget, we need you to become a TYT member. Yes, we do. We need you to spin that wheel, become a member. You get to spin that wheel once you get that email. Become a subscriber, sign up for the annual membership to TYT and spin the wheel for an exciting prize. Become an annual TYT member at tyt.com/spin. Spin the wheel. When you get your membership confirmation email, land on a prize and wait for delivery via email. And if you are watching the show or listening to the show and you are already a member, gift a membership to somebody, spread the word. We need to keep TYT as robust as it is. Independent media is so vitally important. And many, many thanks to each and every one of you who are already members. Because of you, boo, we get to do what we do. All right, phase 2, part 2 of the viewer comments. TYT member, Speed Racer. Hello, Speed Racer, and Happy New Year, darling. Joe Biden loves railroads. That is railroad owners, not railroad workers. You got that right, Speed Racer. And on Twitch, Neon, thank you for still recognizing we are still in a global pandemic. We're seeing scary variants and people need to stay vigilant, Senator Turner. Thank you, Neon. Yes, we absolutely do need to stay vigilant. It's another reason why universal healthcare would be a beautiful thing in the United States right now. If they were able to get vaccinations out in a universal way. So don't tell me we can't have universal healthcare. They did it with the vaccine, putting those vaccines out the way that they did. We can do it. It's about political will. Thank you for that, Neon. And we're gonna keep sounding the alarm. The pandemic, we might be done with the pandemic, but the pandemic is not done with us. And on YouTube, super chat, Ted, Detroit loves you, Nina. I'm sending my love back to Detroit. I'm coming through Detroit. I'll be in Michigan at some point before this year is up. Love y'all. Love you, Ted. Love you, Detroit. Big ups. I have some really good friends in Detroit. So sending that love and sending love to each and every one of you. Thank you so much for your support of the TYT network and especially Unbossed. Gun manufacturers make Junior an AR-15. I want you to watch this from June of last year.
Here's an ad for a new assault rifle that came out this year. The AR-15 is the weapon of choice, as I mentioned, for mass shootings. This is an ad for a JR-15, a junior AR-15. It is manufactured by We One Tactical. It's like an AR-15, but it's designed for kids. 20% smaller and lighter. It's designed for children under the age of 18. Look at the logos in this ad and look closely. They're the same logos that are imprinted on the weapon. They show these skulls of children with pacifiers in their mouths.
That company is sick. No other way to describe it. You might as well go ahead and put cigarettes in kids' hands. Now that was Senator Dick Durbin of Illinois illustrating the horrific JR-15. What kind of sick people? I was gonna say something else, Jackson, but this is a family show, PG. Right. What kind of sick people would do something like this? And then as Senator Durbin laid out, pacifiers in their mouths. See, this is an example of greed, unfettered capitalism run amok. This is an example of making a profit off of folks in ways that are so disturbing. Now the manufacturer is looking to bring it back. We One Tactical is displaying the JR-15 at SHOT Show 2023, a major national shooting sports foundation trade show that opened Tuesday at the Venetian Expo and Caesars Forum in Las Vegas. That reporting is coming from Common Dreams. Thank you, Brett. Worth noting, the gun show is taking place just 3 miles from where the Vegas massacre claimed 60 lives in 2017. Are we old enough to remember that? Understandably, gun control advocates are livid. We all should be livid. Why in the Frankenstein do we need a junior AR-15? Why? It's not cute. Like I said, you might as well go ahead and put a cigarette in the kid's hand. Let them puff pass, why don't you? Understandably, so they upset. I'm upset too. Newtown Action Alliance, let's put that up. The gun lobby, GRP, National Shooting Sports Foundation, is hosting its annual SHOT Show in Las Vegas this week. Last year, they allowed We One Tactical to showcase JR-15s. AR-15s made for children. Gun makers should not be able to market weapons of war to children. Underscore, underline, exclamation point, message in a bottle and send it on every mode of transportation we got, except for Southwest. I mean, what in the heaven is wrong with these people? What in the hell? Because heaven ain't got nothing to do with this. This is madness. And check out this gun quote from Sari Kaufman, who is protesting the Vegas gun show and is also a survivor of the Stoneman Douglas High School shooting in 2018. We got short memories in this country. Going through a tragedy and trauma like that at 15 years old, right when you're developing into an adult, it impacts you every day in various ways. It's upsetting that at 20 years old, I've been through a mass shooting and now I'm having to call out lawmakers and an industry because adults aren't doing their job. They're not. And the AR-15 has been used in a string of mass shootings in the United States of America. We already know this. Let's put this up. Mass shootings with an AR-15. May 24th, 2022, Robb Elementary School. February 14th, 2018, Stoneman Douglas High School. October 1st, 2017, Las Vegas massacre, 60 dead. November 5th, 2017, Sutherland Springs, Texas church shooting, 26 dead. June 12th, 2016, Pulse nightclub shooting, 49 dead. December 14th, 2012, Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting, 27 dead. 20 of the 27 were children. That's 200 people killed, including 39 children in mass shootings in the last decade. The common thread is the weapon, the AR-15, and they got the nerve to make an AR-15 junior. But Republicans think teaching kids about the truth of history in this country is more dangerous. Jackson, I can't.
Well, and you pointed out before profit, but this is profit just for profit's sake alone, just because you can, just because the regulation stretches so thin. And you don't go deer hunting with AR-15s. You don't, go rabbit shooting or anything along those lines. You don't shoot game with those types of weapons. This is the type of stuff for like families who have like bunkers in their backyard filled with dry rationed food because, Armageddon's next Tuesday. Next Tuesday comes, Armageddon that came with it, but yet and still next Tuesday it's gonna be these types of people. That's who this is serving, and it's not as if there's like, oh, if we don't allow children to buy AR-15s, then there's just no other options. There's just no guns that we can have. And that's just complete nonsense. But it really is just, there's more guns than people in the US. So it's just completely out of control. And the cat's out of the bag so much that it really is a tough fight to get it put back in any type of meaningful way.
No, it is, and these kind of weapons are glorified by politicians. Let's put up some of these smug shot pictures. Merry Christmas, holding guns and all this kind of foolishness. Merry Christmas, P.S. Santa, please bring ammo. Really? Geniuses? Let's go on over to Boebert and her family. The Boeberts have your 6 at Representative Thomas Massey. So that was her response to his tweet that we put up earlier. I mean, seriously. And then they got their kids holding the damn weapons. It's their kids, so I guess that they can do that. But this is sick. This is sick, America. This is sick. Now we just got to call it what it is. That is sick. Now on to some good news. Community center replaces charcoal plant. Investing in a community is indeed a beautiful thing. Watch this.
Serving 24 years as an elected official in this city allowed me to be a part of something that was much bigger than me. It allowed me to be the voice for the community that I served, and we saw many great improvements, one in which has culminated into this beautiful building. Never could imagine a young woman of color that I would be a part of something that is going to change the face of this community for years into the future, and it just happens to be named in my honor.
Oh my God, isn't that beautiful? Now, Unbossed viewers, I got to apologize. I mean, I went straight from Junior AR-15 to this good news. I didn't even ease into it, did I? But this right here is a beautiful thing, and that was Mary Sue Rich. The community center is named after her. This headline right here, West Ocala Community Center opens where a charcoal plant once spewed soot over African American homes. And you know what? Miss Mary laid that out. Ocala celebrated the opening of the community center Tuesday on the site where a rural oak charcoal plant used to belch smut over homes of African American residents, and the city celebrated the extraordinary commitment of 2 women who drove that change. Hundreds gathered, hundreds of people were there as well. They should have been. Oh my God, just so beautiful. And it is called the Mary Sue Rich Community Center. She so much deserves that. A former city council member and Ruth Reed, a West Ocala resident who fought the charcoal plant. It closed in 2006 after 30 years of operation. Jackson, this is beautiful.
Well, and perhaps it's good we hit a 180 and went into some good news, so you can't always deliver it the perfect way, but definitely good that factories like this absolutely spew toxic chemicals and substances in neighborhoods and environments. I mean, you can just look at if anybody's ever driven through like West Virginia, you can see soot all over the buildings. That's a coal mining area. So stuff like this absolutely has negative effects on the towns that they're in. And then too, it's great that it was replaced with the community center, because those are places where a lot of people can develop important life skills, stay out of trouble, come together with friends and family. So definitely good news.
Definitely good news. And we try on Unbossed to share good news from time to time. Just absolutely beautiful. Oh, the bone. We haven't had a bone in such a long time. And today we're doing the backbone, and we're highlighting a quote from none other than the greatest of all time in boxing. And that is Muhammad Ali. And Muhammad Ali really put it all on the line. We just celebrated MLK Day, and we know that Martin Luther King Jr., Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was despised after he stepped out there and really railed against the Vietnam War. He talked about the triplets of evil being militarism, materialism, and racism. And it was in those moments when Dr. King made his civil rights talks more broader, what he was standing up for. He broadened the scope of what he was fighting for. That's when he started to draw the ire of people. In that same tradition, brother Muhammad Ali stood up against the Vietnam War. He did. And we know what he said. He said, ain't none of them over there ever called me an end. Y'all want to send me over there to fight my brown brothers. I'm just not doing it. And he did not do it. This is an example of a hero, a humanitarian, somebody that was willing to put it all on the line. He did put it all on the line. The United States took his title from him. But glory be to God he was able to get it back. This is what Brother Muhammad Ali once said. He said, I would like to be remembered, when he was asked a question about how he wanted to be remembered. I would like to be remembered as a man who won the heavyweight title 3 times, who was humorous and who treated everyone right, as a man who never looked down on those who looked up to him, and who helped as many people as he could, as a man who stood up for his beliefs no matter what, as a man who tried to unite all humankind through faith and love. And if all that's too much, then I guess I'd settle for being remembered only as a great boxer who became a leader and a champion of his people. And I wouldn't even mind if folks forgot how pretty I was. That is Muhammad Ali, an American boxer, humanitarian, baby. Oh my God, Jackson, that A. He said he wouldn't even mind if they remembered that he was pretty on top of all of that dazzle.
Gotta throw that in there, you know what I'm saying?
Had to.
But definitely a good and solid way to close out the show. You know, to remind that life always, you know, even if you live a long life, it's still short. You know, so you got to find ways to really serve and to help make the world and humanity a better place and a better existence. So he's definitely somebody who lived a good life.
He did, and he did put it all on the line. And it wasn't just for him. His family was impacted by that too, but he came out on top. He was restored. And as I said, glory be to God. You don't have many people who are willing to sacrifice their purse for something that they believe in. And Muhammad Ali was that hero. He was that champion. He did stand up for his people. He indicted this country on his racism and bigotry too. Thank you so much. And that spirit still lives today. Brother Muhammad Ali. Wouldn't even mind if they remembered how pretty he was. I know that's right. All right, thank you all so much for joining us today. It was a rip-roaring show. Jackson and I, we covered all topics from the worst to the best on this show today. But hopefully there was something in it for everybody. So you know what we want you to do about this time. We want you to keep the faith, but more importantly, we want you to keep the fight. Until next time.